Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
My name is Tom.
And my name is Adam.
And with some pauses, we are Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com.
I imagine there's some sick delay. Is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Because I can't tell.
Yeah, a little bit. So Tom has temporarily relocated for a few months. So we were trying to do an internet call earlier, and that was objectively terrible. So what we've had Tom do is dial in from his phone into the meeting. So it will be consistent, but it might be ever so slightly delayed and sounding like he's on the phone because he is. But welcome, Tom.
Oh, howdy. I feel so welcome on a show I've been a part of for a little over a decade.
That's all right.
Tom,
Thanks for having me, guys.
Beginner's mindset.
Tom, tell us your thoughts on political events. Give us you're dialing in to the Unnatural Selection show. Give us just to make it all talkback radio.
It's a phone interview. What's the craziest thing you ever did during sex? Well, hey, it's Dingo and the baby here at Drive in the morning.
Oh man, craziest thing. Well, I don't know. As you mentioned, George, I've relocated to Sydney for a couple months. So yeah, it's freaking bananas up here. I don't think anyone who designed Sydney know how roads work. It's just absolute madness. Can I tell you guys, I've been thinking about this for the past couple of days. Can I tell you guys about an intersection I saw the other day, and I want to get your thoughts on it?
No, believe it or not, the intersection you saw the other day hasn't come up in conversation, believe it or not.
No, I know. Because I was thinking about it the other day. I want to bring it up.
All right.
Because I want your thoughts on this.
I'll allow
I think
but there's better be going somewhere, Councillor.
Yeah. Oh, it's going somewhere. This place was designed by a madman. So a thing about Sydney, right, is that they don't like letting you turn ever. Like, you may be approaching like a four-way intersection, but dear God, if you want to go a direction that isn't straight, get fucked. You're not allowed to turn anywhere. And I was approaching an intersection the other day. Like, this was after dropping my partner off at a train station, not being able to just do a U-turn and go back the way I came. I had to go via the University of Sydney for some reason. And while I'm on my way back, I'm approaching this intersection. And the GPS is telling me that I should turn left. I'm like, cool, but I don't trust the GPS because it doesn't seem to be aware of Sydney's bullshit no turning in whatever direction rules. And as I approach this intersection, I need to turn left, and there's a big sign next to the traffic light that says no left turn.
Well, yeah, that's a pretty good indicator of whether you should turn left there or not.
Pretty good indicator, except it was accompanied by another sign, which was smaller, but at the bottom of the sign. And this sign said, vehicles under 9 meters accepted.
Okay, so you can't turn left unless you're a small car. You can't turn left unless you really want to turn left and you need to, and you're a small car.
Well, and you're a vehicle under 9 meters?
Yeah.
9 meters is a pretty fucking big vehicle.
Yeah.
That's most vehicles are less than 9 meters.
Yeah, it wouldn't,
right?
Surely it would be easier to
trucks.
say trucks can't turn left.
Yeah, but the no turn left sign was pretty fucking huge. So I was like, okay, but it didn't quite say meters. It said under 9M. So maybe there's some room for interpretation there. I don't know. I was just thinking like 9 meters is a really weird benchmark, because I was trying to think of vehicles that exceed 9 meters. And I guess, really big trucks.
And limousines.
And buses, maybe? And limousines. It seemed very strange. And then the next step was that I looked at the traffic lights themselves, and it was one of those pairs of traffic lights. So, you've got three lights down one side, 3 lights down the other, red, yellow, green. And the lights on the right-hand side of this were for buses. It was the letter B instead of a regular traffic light. So I was like, And then on the other side, it was a left arrow. So this traffic light with a do not turn left sign right next to it had traffic lights, red, yellow, and green for left turning. I was getting some crazy mixed messages. So I thought, I'll trust the guy in front of me because it looks like he wants to turn left, so maybe he's able to turn left as well. And when he turned left into the intersection, so I was like, all right, good start. But instead of going onto the road, he went onto the light rail tracks.
Oh, no.
Jesus.
Where I thought, am I supposed to do that?
No.
Because I've seen a bus share the light rail track.
No,
so is this some bullshit Sydney thing?
No.
But no, I decided to then go onto the road and hope to fuck it wasn't a one-way street that I wasn't meant to be turning down, because the biggest sign I'd seen up to this point was "Do not turn the direction I just turned."
Can I tell you what I think this sounds like?
It sounds like there should also be a "Do not turn onto the light rail" sign next to both of these signs. I don't know if that's over-signing, but it seems like that's the more important part, I would think.
You can't go wrong with more signs, or maybe you can. I don't know, but what this sounds like. It sounds like traffic Squid Game. So,
yes.
The first guy, he's dead. So he went down a light rail, gone. See you later, Tom.
Only
You've
the
survived turning into the corner. Did you survive the next leg of your journey?
Well, yes, I did, thankfully. I eventually made it back home, but thanks to Sydney's bananas, no turns in random directions that don't make any sense. What took me 5 minutes to get to the train station to drop off my partner, it took me 30 minutes to get back home. So Sydney's fucked, but you know what? The weather's nice up here, so, swings and roundabouts. So, of course, they wouldn't know how to use a roundabout if it punched them in the face.
I was going to say, except for the flooding, but we've had our own fair share of that in Melbourne this week.
And Tasmania.
Correct.
Shall we do some news?
Yeah.
Sure. Why don't we talk about floods since you've just brought it up?
Sure. Residents in Melbourne's west have evacuated as a result of my mic input is doing some fucking weird stuff. Have you guys noticed that?
You sound fun. You sound fun.
I sound fun.
And fine.
Hi.
Hey, girl.
Hey. There's
I have often said that George, sounds fun. It's like, oh, he sounds like a fun guy. I'm like, you would be surprised.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I think. So
you're welcome. Love you.
I appreciate you as a co-host. So Melbourne's residents have experienced some flooding this week along the Maribyrnong River and in Werribee, so in the west, Melbourne's west. So let's talk about it. It's bad.
Yeah, it's looking like bananas. Just some of the footage coming out of it. Like, not only, obviously you're looking at pictures of floods, so there'll be lots of water in places that you're not used to seeing, lots of water. But have you guys seen the pictures of the highways outside of Bendigo?
No, tell me about Bendigo highways. What's going on there? Good stuff,
It looks like Godzilla's been through there. I didn't realize that floodwaters could rip up bitumen.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Chunks they can of literally, the road are gone.
They can literally destroy train tracks, roads, infrastructure. You name it, water. Lots of water will move it.
It looks nuts. It's not just potholes. It's meters and meters worth of road ripped up like an earthquake's been through there. It's crazy.
Imagine a pothole, but rather than just having a little bit of water on top of it, which helps, the pothole eventually which firstly creates the pothole and then secondly makes it worse. Imagine an ocean on top of that pothole and the entire road disappears. That's kind of what it is. But it's not just Melbourne. We're talking about Melbourne, and it's kind of shocking because it's it's the inner west. Dear God, it could affect us. But parts of northern Tasmania are underwater, parts of New South Wales are underwater, parts of North Victoria are underwater. And they said this would happen, and guess what? It happened. So, I mean, at least this time we were relatively well prepared for it. I think there's been one death in Rochester in Victoria, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the good thing is, I think, with this situation is that, there's obviously infrastructure and planning around this in the sense that they were monitoring the situation and tried to prevent things to a certain point.
And there were announcements prior to, prior to the events where the government was saying, hey, this is a potential, we advise everyone to, stay in their homes and, don't go into the CBD on Thursday and all that sort of stuff. But some people did. I think the really concerning part is the access to the areas around the Maribyrnong River, which has swelled to several times its size. So, and that's obviously not just related to the weather and what's happening with the rain, but also like to tidal things and stuff as well, which is pushing sort of water back up the river. And the big problem is that because there's, it's another La Nina year and everything's sodden because of sort of continuous rainfall, it means that even though it hasn't been like a massive downpour necessarily, it's just there's the ground's waterlogged. There's no way for it to go. The dams are full. Like any rain that comes through is just kind of like going straight through to areas where it shouldn't be. So,
yeah, it's pretty crazy. And the other, I guess, the thing now, obviously there's disaster cleanup that's sort of beginning now, and I think floodwaters in certain rivers will continue to rise over the next couple of days. From what I've heard, I think the Yarra is expected to perhaps get a little bit higher, but I guess the big discussion around all this, and the federal government sort of been flagging things, but not really being very specific on it, is the concept of, well, what do we do with communities that are based around rivers?
Yeah,
I mean, you can't rip up Maribyrnong.
Do we still have them?
Flood mitigation things in, but like for communities that are next to rivers that generally will flood once every 50 years, now maybe once every 10 years, do we continue to build houses there? What do we do? And I've lost George.
I don't know, Adam. Oh, George's gone. Sorry.
George is speaking with his, I can't hear him, which is, it's good because he's hosting this whole thing.
Brilliant. In answer to your question, just in case this is still recording, I don't know, Adam. I don't know what you do at sort of that point. Because it also seems like the kinds of things that you do in order to mitigate maybe the effects of floods and things like that can be also detrimental. Like this has really kicked off a conversation about the flood wall near Flemington Racecourse in Melbourne. There were concerns 20 years ago, apparently, when they were building it, that it might exacerbate flooding for the surrounding neighbourhoods. And, look, it did 20 years later, by the looks of it.
Well, did it exacerbate it, or is that just people wanting to blame someone? Like, how much evidence?
Well,
I don't know. It's all sort of anecdotal at this point. The Victorian Racing Club president was like, we probably shouldn't have built it there. And everyone sort of jumped on that. Meanwhile, the government's kind of said, it's not. Well, I mean, the government's going to say this because they built it. But they're like, there's
government
not
binds, government good.
There's a correlation, not necessarily a causation aspect there. But look, when they were building that levee, I think as you just said, the people were saying that this could happen, and then it has. So again, is it a causal thing, or is it just the correlation? I don't know.
It definitely
further investigation is needed.
It definitely seems like the levees that were there to help to prevent, the sort of it's not a levee, I suppose, exactly. But there was sort of like flood protections that were built into Flemington Racecourse to stop Flemington Racecourse being flooded, that have then, like, if Flemington Racecourse doesn't get flooded, then other areas will get flooded more around it. I understand the need to have a racecourse or like some sort of like big stadium venue like that protected for to be a gathering center when there is some sort of natural disaster or something like that. But it seems as though this particular event, in any case, was not anticipated and hasn't been handled particularly well.
That's an interesting way of putting it, George, actually, because I was thinking about it as, areas like stadiums or whatever being crisis relief sort of centres or like, in like big catastrophic areas. Because I know a lot of people were sort of critical of this because, well, horse racing being a very bad industry and activity. And, that's especially been public sentiment around that has certainly been ramping up in much more recent years of the cruelty and everything of horse races. So, people being like, oh, why do you have to protect this big grassland that just kills horses and abuses them and stuff? Like, terrible sport. Why'd you get a flood wall? But, facilities like that exist being protected. So in the event of flooding and things, there are places for people to take refuge. That's an angle I hadn't considered, actually.
Well,
but,
Tom,
I guess
as someone who's saying that, I mean, you obviously have never been someone who's got up on a quaddie at the Melbourne Cup, so swings and roundabouts.
No, I haven't. And I must say, though I'm not a big fan of, the racing industry and all that sort of stuff, I do love the international headlines the day after Melbourne Cup of what grots Australians are seeing the carnage across the racecourse. Everyone in their finest fashionable evening wear or whatever, just tumbling over hedges and punching out cops and wearing fuck awful hats.
And next, we have a story from Australia in a completely unprecedented move. Turns out all Australians are a bunch of drunk fucking idiots. And here's some footage of people holding their high heels in their hands.
Yeah, I remember some woman being like walking up to a cop and shoving them into a hedge and going, wasn't that funny? And then they're immediately like arrested. And they're like, what the fuck?
Of course. You just shoved a cop into a hedge, you fucking lunatic.
Beautiful.
Obviously, the state government has announced one-off payments of varying amounts to people who've been affected. $500 and something for adults and $280 for kids. So that should hopefully get them through the next, sort of couple of weeks until more sort of permanent solutions can be found. But it is really disheartening to see. This is a major city. Melbourne is a major city, and it's a beautiful day outside today. It's nice and sunny, but like other people on the other side of the same city that I am in are experiencing, homes that are completely underwater and emergency circumstance. Like, it is kind of crazy when you think about it from that perspective. Like,
Well, I guess any of these sorts of things happening like much closer to home hits different. Like, I know people sort of say it shouldn't matter how close it is to your own area for you to care, and that's true. But also, it does hit different when it's like, I know that area or I know people in that area.
Yeah. Well, it could be us, that's the thing that really drives home to me is like, there's nothing to say about our area necessarily that's unique to, we think, we live in Melbourne, we live in a nice, safe place, safe city. But it turns out it's vulnerable just like everywhere else in the world. Of course it is. Like, yeah.
I mean, planning laws these days.
Climate change is real.
Planning laws these days do account for flood-prone areas. Like I deal with this at work where, if you go to build a new house, there's a certain requirement of what's the minimum flood level. Like, there'll be a specified sort of, expectation as data on where they expect, how water will flow through that area. If it does flood, how often they think the flood will be. But for houses that are already built, like, tough. It's just, you can't retroactively do anything. And some people, like, there were stories, in towns of, I think, northern Tasmania, I think, where they had, I think it was Latrobe maybe, where they had, some people who got flooded out, say, 10 years ago, whenever it was, or even earlier, I think maybe later, sorry, like 2016, I think the last major flood was there. They built their house up 500, 600 mil, and they saved their house as a part of that. And then there's some other people who also brazed their house that didn't matter because there's just too much water. So, this is going to become, whether it's this or severe drought and bushfires, this is the new reality of living on planet Earth.
Yay.
And it sucks. It fucking sucks.
Jesus, that's bleak.
It could be worse. We could be in Pakistan where literally half the country was washed away.
Yeah.
We're crying over 500 homes. Like, perspective, like, people who haven't got insurance and his entire livelihoods have just disappeared.
Yeah.
The scale of things is relative, but this will become more commonplace across the globe, whether it be here, America, Europe, whatever. So have fun with that, guys. Enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks.
I love it. You say that, Adam, like you're not going to be here. Where are you planning to get off to? What kind of intergalactic mission have you got planned?
Planet.
So I've got my go bag, and I'm thinking of buying a boat.
Yep.
And if I have a boat,
right? Okay.
So like if there's fires or something, I can get on the boat and go somewhere where there's not fire. And if there's floods, obviously a boat floats. So floaty boat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can get around it. I just think a boat's
a flood raises all boats.
Floaty boat, indeed.
Noah's Ark was a Noah.
Adam.
I'm sorry. Noah was a fucking genius, guys. I'm sorry.
Noah was a fictional
Well, I mean,
character.
to be fair, though. Well, yeah, and to be fair, in that story, it was God who was the genius, right? Because God told him to do it.
God was all over it. Noah was just doing what he was told.
Noah
was just handed a nice idea and gets all the credit for it.
But do you know, like you said, he's a fictional character. Do you know there are people in the US that are like they've built the replicas of the arks? Have you seen those?
The Creationist Museum where they've got like dinosaurs getting onto the ark to try and explain dinosaur fossils. Yeah, doesn't mean it's scientifically correct.
I would be way more into the Noah's Ark story if it also included all the dinosaurs.
It kind of makes it a bit more dope, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, if we're gonna look at the Bible as like having a canon sort of thing of like, oh, the Earth is only 6,000 years old or whatever, then yeah, I guess that means dinosaurs had to be involved. And if your depiction doesn't include dinosaurs, then that's a huge plot hole in this whole Jesus canon in the JCU.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Fuck you.
The JCU.
Yeah, the Jesus Cinematic Universe.
No.
Yes.
Otherwise known as Christianity.
Who's the Thanos of the JCU? Just Satan generally, or
Satan, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't raised Christian, so I'm not in on the lore. I only know sort of the cliff notes. I'm like a fake JCU fan.
How nice must it have been to be raised without Christianity? What was that like?
I mean, it was pretty great. People say it's pretty weird that my brother and I are best friends. They're like, what? My fiance said to me, you never like punched your brother? I was like, no, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. We just get along.
With Christianity?
Like, I don't know. Just like, well, in terms of my upbringing, like, I guess that's what my upbringing was like. Are those two things related? Maybe.
I don't know, man. I had a whole heap of Mormon propaganda thrown at me when I was growing up on commercial television while watching cartoons.
And you turned out great.
Yeah, it's safe to say that you're definitely the most psychologically healthy member of the group, I think.
Family. Isn't it about time? From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
What, isn't it about time for family? What?
No, the quote was like, it's like, family. Isn't it about time?
What?
And it was
what
like,
does that mean?
remember when we used to, their commercials.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Their commercials would be like, remember when we used to sit around the table and talk? Not about anything. Just talk. Family. Isn't it about time? From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Anyway, it's my brother and I can basically recite all those off to you verbatim if you want. One day we can recite it in unison.
Remember when we used to sit around and talk not about anything? Then what? What did they talk about? What kind of conversation were they wanting to get back to? Like, is it just that someone says, so I went to the shops today, and someone else says, did you know dolphins sleep? And just what? Does people just say sentences apropos of nothing at each other? Is that like the utopia that the Mormon Church of Tasmania is after?
I think so, Tom. And some of them might have talked about the Sandy Hook massacre. They might have talked about that potentially.
Probably not, though.
That's true.
Probably not.
I figured out my audio gain issues, so we're using Zoom for the first time to facilitate this phone call. Apparently, Zoom does you the favor of radically changing your mic input for you based on how loud you're talking. So if my audio has been weird on the recording for the first 25 minutes of this podcast, I hope you hung in there because we fixed it. We did it. We got him, team.
George, did you adjust the gain? Did you adjust the gain as part of that?
Yeah, believe it or not, Adam, your constant query in regards to audio as to whether my gain was the thing at play. It was, in fact, my gain that was at play for the first time in 12 years. I was wondering, because I was looking, I've got a little hardware thing. I've got the Elgato Wave XLR thing, which is basically like a little mini, I don't want to say it's a mixer per se.
It's basically a mixer.
It's a stream deck.
Yeah, so essentially it's an XLR input from a microphone, so one of the professional ones with 3 pins, goes into this thing, and then you've got a little knob that you can turn up and down, and then that feeds into the computer. So it's like a very, very like minimalistic version of what you would need to control your microphone with a piece of hardware. The whole point of it is that you control your microphone with the hardware, not with the software. So Zoom's just like, don't worry, bud. I'll do you the favor of controlling your microphone by turning you down.
I got you, fam.
I got you. Don't worry, bro.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Nailed it.
And then now we know. Anyway, Alex Jones is a piece of shit, and now he's going to be broke for the rest of his life.
Yeah, so we mentioned Sandy Hook.
Give me some bad news, George.
I know.
Like,
some days the news is good, Tom, and that's all there is to it. So freedom fighter, free speech advocate, warrior of the oppressed, the everyman. Alex Jones is going to be forced to pay $965 million USD in damages to numerous families of victims of the 2012 Sandy Hook mass shooting for falsely claiming that they were actors who faked the tragedy. This led to a number of death threats. All of these parents being hounded by various, I don't even know what to call these insane people. Yeah. And being accosted in their homes. Various victims' families have attested to the fact that they've needed to move or make alternate arrangements for living. You're being sent death threats, rape threats in the mail. Apparently, there was a guy who was pissing on the grave of one of the 7-year-old victims and threatening to dig him up. And this is all as a result of
Jesus.
Can you imagine, like, even if you did think that it was staged somehow, and these parents were, I don't know, even if you did think that fever dream, conspiracy theory was true, I don't piss on graves any percent of the time. No matter who I think is buried in them. Like, what possesses you to go to that next level of, like, threatening? Like, I guess you can't control what's in other people's brains, even if it's stupid, right? Like, I suppose that's been the decade-long endeavor of this podcast, is to help correct what's in other people's brains, and obviously it hasn't been successful. So obviously it's not something that you can do, but like the fact that you would go and threaten someone and threaten violence and stalk people and harass people and film them and like that just seems insane next level shit to me. I don't know what possessed these people to do that.
Yeah, that's unhinged.
Yeah, freedom. It's in pursuit of freedom.
Of freedom.
Yes, that's what all their veterans fought for. Your freedom to piss on a child's grave.
He's a grand old flag. She's a high-fired flag. I'm gonna piss on the children's graves. Yeah, I don't think that's what.
Why did you just sing the Melbourne Demons theme song?
Oh, so was that? What was I going for? I was going for From the Halls of Montezuma. It's the same song.
No, it's not.
Don't all the footy songs come from something else?
Halls of Montezuma is the Air Force song, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did Grand Old Flag. Grand Old Flag is a different one.
Grand Old Flag's that's a Melbourne Demons football reference. Anyway,
Flag.
I think there is an American.
Grand Old Flag is an American.
Hymn.
Isn't it an American song? You're a Grand Old Flag sing along version for kids, and it's got an American flag.
There is the Marine hymn that is
Of course you know that, Adam.
The Marine Hymn is an AFL song, but that's different to Great Old Flag. Anyway.
Anyway.
The French national anthem is the Brisbane Lions song, so go figure.
There you go. But yeah, so great news that seems like Alex Jones will be held extremely financially accountable for peddling insane bullshit for a decade.
But the thing is, like, how's he gonna, like, actually, like, apparently he's worth between 135 to 270 million. InfoWars, which is his company that he runs, is between 165, around 165 million between 2016 and 2018. That's how much money they brought in.
That's how much revenue, yeah.
Yeah, but like, he wouldn't necessarily be worth that now. So like, he'll be able to pay some of it, but can he continually pay that for the next?
Well, here's what's going to happen.
Overtime sort of thing.
Here's what's going to happen: is they're going to fight it in court and just delay and deny and delay. I very much doubt, in actuality, that these families are really going to see that much money, or anywhere near his own personal wealth. It's all going to be hidden and put into people's names, and yeah, like they'll get a portion of it. But like this is what happens with these, you know, with these legal cases. It all gets dragged out over years and years. Even if you win the judgment, doesn't necessarily mean you get a check, you know, that day. It gets appealed and watered down and negotiated down, and you know, it's all about delaying at this point. So I hope they get every red cent that this motherfucker ever earns for the rest of his life, and he spends his time as a troll living under a bridge asking people riddles in order to allow them to cross for a gold coin. I hope that's what the rest of his life is like, but I very much doubt it. I think he's going to be allowed to continue. This is the thing with companies. Although he personally was liable for that case in Texas in August for $49.3 million US, which is separate to this.
This isn't him. This is InfoWars, right?
Yeah, well, that's what Alex Jones and InfoWars. So the whole point of a corporate structure is you can declare bankruptcy and then, you know, sort of, you know, put together a new business under a new name and call it something else and keep doing what you're doing. I'm not convinced that this is the end of Alex Jones by any means. But I hope he's dead fucking, like, I hope it works, and I hope he's dead fucking broke for the rest of his life.
I mean,
it'd be nice if he just, you know, disappeared into obscurity, and it'd be a good thing for the world.
It is nice to see a judgment come down against the likes of Alex Jones, right? Because there's been this whole like right-wing psychopath ecosystem out there online, just festering for the last 20 years. And it's really nice to see, you know, one of the key proponents of it, you know, get hit really hard. So it's good for that, if nothing else, like communicating to the world, like, hey, these shitbag ideas that your boy has been espousing ain't so good, actually. And if you keep on with this line of argument, you're gonna get got. So I think that's a good thing. What are your thoughts, Adam?
Well, what I'm worried about is kind of what happened sort of after, you know, he got banned from Facebook, right? Which is where that in some ways the controversy actually helps accelerate the profile of Alex Jones as some sort of martyr, if you will.
Free speech warrior, yeah.
Yeah, and it actually boosts or, you know, adds more fuel to the fire that is the right-wing ecosystem.
Yeah, but what are you going to do? You're going to not punish him for, like, what he said is beyond defamatory, right? Like, even by the American definition, which is much more restrictive than the Australian way, it's much harder to get a defamation result in the US just because of how their laws are structured compared to here. What do? Do you not punish it? Do you not sue him for ruining these people's lives? Like,
no, I think it's the best. It's the best tool that we have. It probably opens a larger question of, you know, and going back to and we'll talk about Trump in a second. But
good.
You know, how do you combat myth making, and how do you combat stories? Basically, this is the key problem with the right wing thing, is that you're not just trying to fight. It's not about facts; it's about stories and what is the most compelling, interesting story, which taps into something within the people that are wanting to believe in it.
Yeah.
Much like religion, but
again, you can't control
yeah.
what's in people's brains. Like, I can't help the fact that you guys have imbibed some some collective psychosis. Like, the whole idea of democracy and the whole idea of living in a civil society, developed Western democracy, is that you presuppose, like, it's built on a foundation that people are rational actors and they're persuadable by common sense arguments, that a reasonable person, that phrase comes up a lot in British common law. How would a reasonable person react to the set of circumstances? What would they think? What would they do? What would they say? And if a reasonable person will do this, well, then we can extrapolate X, Y, Z. And it just seems like that whole idea of a reasonable person is it's completely, like, our media is so completely bifurcated now, so polarized, that what a reasonable person on the left thinks is completely different to what a reasonable, quote unquote, reasonable person on the right thinks, who also thinks that lizards are secretly controlling the government. You know what I mean? Like, they're just
and that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
Earth 1 over here, and then over here is Earth 2, which is a completely different universe, in which case Bill Clinton is a lizard person who cracks open tiny babies to drink their adrenochrome.
And that's what I'm talking about, is that I think, at the moment, defamation suits and, where we, the January 6th stuff, like all these sort of probes and whatever else and committees that we've got, it's the best system we've got. A reasonable person is the best thing that we've thought of thus far.
What if they're all unreasonable, though?
Some of those things, if some of those things start to shift and views polarize, and we become, in effect, more tribal, and we don't have a common shared set of values, how does that shift? We need to think of a better way of work, having a system that still manages to keep society cohesive. And it might just be changing the word to reasonable person to something else.
Reasonable Labour voter.
Or something like that.
I don't understand. Yeah, what do we do? I mean, we've all articulated the problem pretty well over the last 5 years. But it's like, I don't know that anyone has a good answer to the question, okay, so what do we do about it? How do we bring our epistemologies, our ways of gathering knowledge and understanding the world, and bring them back together again? Can we ever recover from that? The way that social media and the internet and, TikTok and all these different services have bifurcated media and knowledge and ways of seeing the world. Is there a way of possibly bringing that back in together so people have a more common view of the world? Like, I've never heard someone and here's how we do it. I've never heard that. Like,
no,
they're just like, shit's fucked. And then people go, and then other people go, yeah, shit is really fucked. And they go, yeah, shit's super fucked. They go, yeah, it's even more fucked than we realize, and it's getting more fucked. And they're like, fuck, that's fucked. Oh, fuck, I know it's so fucked. And you go, do we know what to do about it? And they're like, fuck, no, I have no fucking clue how to fucking do anything about it.
And you get people like me going,
maybe we just...
Adam's like, I've packed my go bag. I'm ready for the fall of society. I'm ready for the collapse. Maybe those Mormon ads did have an effect without you realizing.
I was going to say, maybe we should just full 1984 it. Let's just start inserting into like all TikTok videos and like screen-based content, just like millisecond flashes of subliminal messaging that will bring everyone into line of the worldview that we want to instate and make it double plus good.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about infinite G as a bad thing, and infinite G is about to
infinite G is a bad thing, Adam. I'm very scared about what you're about to say.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
what
maybe
spicy take are you about to fucking airdrop onto this podcast right now?
Maybe he's like playing 4D chess, and he actually is like, you know what, we're going to bring China back under, rather than fracturing China, we're going to make it more cohesive, and at the same time rip away everyone's rights.
But see, that's the thing. It's not even working. They're going the Chinese, whatever People's Party's Congress, their CCP Coachella. is happening at the moment, in order to re-elect President Xi. But if anything, China's more destabilized than ever. You've got people protesting. They've still got their zero COVID policy. People are kind of like freaking out about it because it's 2 years on and it's still impacting their daily lives. I heard about the restrictions that they're still under there, and it seems insane. Like, you're having to check in multiple times a day, testing. And if, there's still places where like everyone in the shopping center needs to sort of evacuate and go into quarantine because someone tested for COVID on the way in. Like it's a crazy level of scrutiny that they're under. And I think the most scary thing is the apps tracing tens of millions of citizens every moment of the day with these apps. And you start to see like, this is where the the anti-lockdown protest sort of fever dream of what Australia would become, by adopting the COVID Safe app, which helped detect 14 cases at a cost of roughly $1 million. Their worst like fever dreams about what that could become in terms of government control is like currently being enacted in China. And so you've got that happening. You've got the Chinese economy. There's like several areas of the economy that are very precarious in terms of housing and, wanting to sustain this economic growth, which doesn't look like it's happening. Like it doesn't feel as though tighter authoritarian control is like necessarily doing a great fucking job right now either. Like there doesn't seem to be any country that's like nailing this at the moment.
Goals.
No.
Yeah. It's funny because like I've got a colleague at work actually whose mother died in China, and she couldn't go back to say goodbye because it was like I'd have to quarantine for 7 days. So she had to she was on life support, and she basically had to say goodbye
via FaceTime.
Video link.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then she couldn't even go back to the funeral because they did all that really quickly, and they have to go back anyway. So she might travel over in the future, and maybe some of her family will come to Australia for a bit so they can all sort of be together. But just it's brutal. But I guess the flip side is as well is like if you just sort of let it rip in China, like because there's so many people, what would happen? And that's the fear, I think, of perhaps the
but there's a difference between the two extremes. I'm not saying you're just fucking let it rip, masks off on public transport like we've done here. But there is certainly somewhere between that and like, hey, make sure people are getting Omicron specific boosters, which are now available here in Australia. Make sure you're still masking on public transport. Make sure you're masking. Like you can still have mitigation efforts going on without the, Chinese version of Be Real, being Chinese government version being like, hey, you up? Where are you exactly right now? Tell me now. There's a happy medium between those two, I think.
So I mean, maybe Infinite G and trying to realign everyone's values wouldn't be necessarily a good thing.
Is it just me? It seems like everything's getting worse, man. Like,
yeah.
I've been an adult for a while now, and it just kind of felt like when I was a kid. I know I was a kid, and I wasn't like fully appreciative of everything going on. And I remember election campaigns from when I was a kid being like, oh, John Howard's talking about the cost of living. Like I remember, those sorts of things coming up then, but it just didn't seem like it was it doesn't feel as though like we sort of got out, like we had the 2008 financial crisis. Everything was cooked. It looked like things were okay for like a couple of years, and then it's been Trump, and then it's been, COVID, and then it's been, it just seems like we're just kind of like, it's not a system that's flourishing where it has peaks and troughs and that's sort of all naturally occurring. It seems like we are living in a system that is ambling from crisis to crisis. Like when people say like late stage capitalism, like, or they're packing their go bag or setting up a boat, like it doesn't seem crazy. It doesn't seem crazy to me anymore because it does feel like a system that's verging on collapse.
I mean, maybe it's always been like that, to a point where, these kind of conservative values, they sort of, the Reagan era was a large part of that. Nixon, like these things sort of came about then. And you got to imagine, back 30, 40 years ago, the Vietnam War was occurring, there was the Cold War.
The Cold War. Yeah, the Cold War,
post-colonial,
that was existential.
Post-colonial genocides in Africa, like there have always been.
Yeah, but not to white people, Adam.
Fucked thing.
not to people in Melbourne, not suburban Melbourne. No, I know what you're saying. Like the Cold War's definitely like would have felt like an existential threat, but like the Vietnam War, it's kind of like, okay, well, there's this war happening, and it's unjust, and we should stop it. But it didn't. I don't know. It doesn't seem like. As someone who's just like looking back on it from a historical perspective, I don't know what it was like there at the time. It doesn't seem to me like it felt like society as a whole was unraveling. That's what it kind of feels like now. It kind of feels like everything's globalized. The conflict in Russia, Ukraine, and the impact that has on food supply and oil and the climate crisis and sort of this global financial situation that we're all going through, I don't want to say post-COVID, but pre the end of COVID, it all seems like very existential all the time. Like it doesn't seem like there's ever a period where we're just like, and it's all chill. The bad things are behind us, and now we're just going to focus on growth for the next couple of years. It's like, okay, the European sovereign debt crisis is over. Okay, new crisis, like next crisis. You know, that's that. I don't know. Am I communicating?
I think you're. I get what you mean, but I think it is a point of. I think it's just always been like that, George, and we're just more attuned to it now as we've gotten older. So probably people who are our age now, back when we were kids, they would be like, "Oh yeah, everything was fucked." Like Iran Contra, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I guess stuff was always fucked, but it was like punctuated with periods of like stability and improvement, and now it just seems like it's just always fucked. I don't know. That's my impression.
Maybe, but yeah.
If that makes you nervous, George, then don't look up on Wikipedia the fall of the Roman Empire.
It was the lead pipes.
Oh, did it turn out well for them?
No, but like it's funny. You look at,
didn't.
Hang on, but like you're talking about an empire that spanned hundreds of years. Like,
well, you could argue the Western world order has been something that's sort of propagated in some shape or form for the last 400 years or whatever. But the thing that fucked the Romans, it wasn't one thing. It was a cacophony of various aspects that internal strife, mass migration, droughts, various things combined to basically unravel the system. And then that was what led to the Dark Ages. Okay, these systems just unraveled.
So what you're telling me is don't stress. What you're witnessing is something that's just very akin to the fall of the Roman Empire and the entry into the Dark Ages. Cool.
Yeah, I'm saying don't read the Wikipedia article.
Don't
is
stress.
What I'm saying.
It's just
don't stress.
Right.
Don't read it.
The unraveling of the global order. Cool.
Yeah, it's fine. The world will die with a whimper,
awesome.
Not a bang or something like that.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, though, more good news, maybe?
God, it'd be great if he died with a bang or a whimper. Like, you know what? I'll take either.
¿Por qué no los dos? Why not both?
So
that'd be so good. If there was like a big bang and he goes, and then he's dead.
The January 6th, obviously we don't advocate murder on this podcast, which I know it just sounds like we might have just done.
I didn't say he had to be murdered.
We said a bang and then a whimper, but it's only because we were referring to
it doesn't have to be murder.
Yeah. It could be he's let off some firecrackers.
You assume I meant murder.
And he had a heart attack. Anyway, just clarifying, we're a anti-murder podcast. The January 6th panel has voted to issue a subpoena for Donald Trump to testify as part of their inquiry. So pretty unsurprisingly.
Speaking of like good news, sort of like, like similar to the Alex Jones kind of thing. This is very like a, doing the right thing. Whether or not he'll actually end up testifying, who the fuck knows? But it's good to see that they're going to try. It's nice that,
there is an attempted uppance for him to come. So the panel, which includes 7 Democrats and 2 Republicans, voted unanimously 9-0 in favor of issuing the subpoena for the former Republican president to provide documents and testimony under oath in connection with the Capitol riot, January 6th, 2021.
Yeah,
sorry.
The interesting thing that I was just going to say that, I mean, obviously one of the key figures on this committee is Liz Cheney, who just got basically her seat
shellacked.
So it's probably her last hurrah for her current role anyway. I do wonder whether this, is this the last, before the midterms, is this the last hurrah, shall we say, to try and sort of have any comeuppance or, to bring perhaps to have accountability to his actions for Donald Trump? Is this the last roll of the dice before the midterms come in, the whole landscape shifts, and then, Trump may or may not be able to stand for election?
Well, I think
they're
very aware that, Democrats have in recent weeks have been ahead in sort of polls for the midterms, certainly on the Senate front, and there's a chance of them retaining the House. But they're aware that if they lose the House, then they lose all power in terms of this. In terms of this House committee, because once the House is in the hands of Republicans, they'll obviously pull the whole thing apart. So they know they're on a timeline to get it sorted, get it done. They're going to issue a subpoena, and it's going to include a deadline for which Mr. Trump must comply. But I'm under no illusions that Trump is going to actually comply with this subpoena. And then once the Republicans are in charge, it all kind of goes away. So I don't see it being...
Because he only has to delay it for long enough,
exactly.
Right? Like he said he's going to fight it.
Yeah.
Now, it is a crime to not, it's, what do they call it? Contempt of
Congress.
Contempt of court.
Contempt of
Congress, sorry.
So that in itself is a crime which would, I think, potentially exclude Trump from running for office.
Well, no, here's the thing, is that he could be convicted of that crime, like Steve Bannon was recently. But I don't think there's anything that would actually prevent him from running for president. There's no law in place as far as I'm aware. And I know I've stated otherwise previously on the show, but on new readings, you could run for president from jail like a fucking mob boss.
Really? I thought it was the other way around.
No, I don't think so. Like
I
presumably
there was something about felonies.
Presumably, you don't want a convicted criminal as the head of your party, but with the Republicans, I'm not sure that it actually matters at this point. Like, I think they're so down with Team Trump. Like when he said he could shoot someone in Fifth Avenue, and they he wouldn't lose supporters. Like, I think that's probably the truest thing he's ever said. These people are just like fevered supporters of Donald Trump. You'd still get 60 to 70 million people voting for him because he's a Republican and not a Democrat. But I mean, maybe it would have hopefully affect enough sane people at the margins that he wouldn't win a presidential bid. But I don't think it's a slam dunk, even if he does get convicted, even if he does go to jail. Like, it's not a guarantee of anything.
So the likelihood is that we don't think he'd actually stand in front of this committee.
No.
He wouldn't actually. No.
I put it at a 0% chance.
Because even if he did, I mean, like, oh my God, can you imagine Trump having to say something under oath and not just absolutely perjure himself?
It's not possible.
Like, the man doesn't speak in truths.
Yeah, it is not. The idea of him talking and not lying, those ideas are not like him talking and lying are the same thing. Those things are synonymous. There is no scenario in which he could get on the bench and not perjure himself. So, not that it matters.
So he released a 14-page letter in response to the subpoena.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he definitely knows how to read and write. Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah. He once again accused the committee of failing to investigate the claims of election fraud. I mean, they're not there to investigate the claims of election fraud. They're there to...
It's the January 6th committee.
Investigate, yeah.
It's so crazy that, this committee that was put together because I tried to overthrow the government still isn't taking seriously the election fraud claims that drove the impetus for me to try and overthrow the government. It's just so very much missing the point entirely of the January 6th commissions and what they're there to do. It's like, even now, when speaking about the commission that is investigating him for his very culpable role in the January 6th riot, he's still like, and I just want to reiterate, the big lie, totally still on. Still loving that big lie and how big it is. Like, oh God, he's such a piece of shit.
The big lie.
Die of a heart attack.
Totally true.
Yeah.
We call it the big lie, but it's actually the big true.
That's why I call it
But
Truth
it's
Social.
the big lie that is totally true. The True Lie. True Lies, good movie, 1994, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just goes off on a tangent about how awesome that movie is.
It's not bad. Jamie Lee Curtis?
Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's a secret spy. Yeah, it's a fun film. James Cameron, before he went all CG.
Yeah. Anyway, so, I mean, it's good that they're subpoenaing him. I don't see what else. This seems like the logical conclusion of the whole sort of, January 6th committee process. I don't see how it could have ended any differently. It's not a surprise, but yeah, it's good that they've done it. As to what effect it's going to have on the lunatic fringe who support him, probably none.
The lunatic fringe, half the country.
70 million Americans who voted for him.
Yeah. It's a big fringe.
It's more a fatter end of the wedge as opposed to the thin end of the wedge, so to speak.
When is at what point do we think that Rupert Murdoch is going to go down in history as the true unmitigated villain that he has been? Like, when is that?
So are we saying that Donald Trump is Darth Vader and then Rupert Murdoch is actually the Emperor?
Emperor Palpatine. Yeah, exactly right.
It's Palpatine.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really great analogy because it's like Darth Vader couldn't have existed without the Emperor. You know what I mean? The Emperor's the one sitting there pulling all the strings, making it all happen. I don't know. It seems like Rupert Murdoch, even now as a fucking nonagenarian, it's still is not recognized as the truly great historical villain that has ruined politics in 3 different countries as at current count that I'm aware of. He seems to get a pass on all this. I don't know why.
I don't know. I'm struggling with the idea of Donald Trump being the Darth Vader of this analogy because I just can't imagine him willingly admitting and then wanting to spend any time with his kids.
Yeah, trying to save his wife. That doesn't sound like Donald Trump.
Yeah, and why would he say I'm your father and join me? Let's hang out. Doesn't sound like Trump at all.
No,
but does he
tell me what to do to save what's her name? Ivanka.
Padme.
Which one am I on?
Yeah. No.
So dumb.
Yeah, I am your father. No, that's not true.
No,
I knocked up some broad.
No. Let's get a paternity
I'm
test.
not sure.
I don't know for sure I'm your father.
Yeah. Anyway, I got to go. I have a casino to run.
Into the ground. So speaking of running things into the ground, Liz Truss. So Liz Truss has very kindly introduced the Chancellor of the Exchequer, what we would know as the Treasurer, Kwasi Kwarteng, nicknamed Kwame Kazi, is introduced him to the underside of a bus and asked him to resign. I don't know how asking someone to resign is different from firing them, but yes, that's what he's done.
Doesn't go on your record as a firing. I don't know.
Yeah, you can't fire me. I quit because you asked me to. So in his letter, that he posted publicly on Twitter, which is kind of a bit of a fuck you, I think, is addressed it to Liz. Quote, "You have asked me to stand aside as your Chancellor. I have accepted," Mr. Kwarteng said in his resignation letter to Liz Truss. His replacement will be former Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, who was one of Miss Truss's rivals in the last Conservative Party leadership contest. So she's thrown him under the bus.
Oh, gee, that's going to go well.
To try and save her prime ministership. I mean, she's only been in power for a grand total of 37 days, the first 2 weeks of which were really largely occupied with the Queen still being dead. So, I mean, she's had about 2 weeks in the role and seems to have largely, blown up the British economy, tanked the pound, and thrown her Chancellor under the bus. So it would be the 4th Chancellor that they've had in as many months. So it doesn't seem like things are going particularly well.
But why fire him? Like, what's that got to do with the price of eggs?
They needed a head to roll after this whole mini budget that the financial event that they announced, which nearly broke the markets. I've seen some more in-depth reporting on that since it's happened. And yeah, the whole British bond market nearly collapsed under the news. So they call it the gilt market for whatever reason. And essentially what happened is buying of the 30-year bonds, which is basically, to make a long story short, confidence in the bond market is a direct relationship with the confidence you have in the long-term health of the economy. You wouldn't buy a 30-year bond if you didn't think the country's going to be doing good in 30 years, right? That's the long and short of it. And basically, the price of those bonds, those long-term bonds, after this financial announcement, went to zero. And their version of the RBA, their central bank, had to step in and prop up this bond market by pumping billions of pounds into this bond market to keep it afloat. And this is the money that's a bond market. These are sovereign bonds,
That's
which is basically
economy,
which is basically the government creating money to then lend to itself to keep the bond market going, which is exactly the opposite of what you want to be doing in a situation with rising inflation, is pumping in billions and billions of pounds of extra money into the system in order to keep it from collapsing. So it was nearly like a Lehman Brothers moment for the British economy, in that, once the bond market sees up, the only way to meet your margin calls, is basically interest rates for all these things are ticking upwards, and the price has gone down. The only way you can get the money together, these large institutional investors, in order to pay off these debts as they come due, which are increasing, is to sell more assets. And what does that do? That drives the price of the assets even further down. It's like a self-reinforcing cycle of fuckery. So to the extent that their central bank had to step in and basically halt the economy from collapsing.
Do we think, is it just because
it's just been around for less, 40 days? You know what I mean? Like, this is how possibly is this expected to continue? Like, there's
the measures that they had were a bunch of tax cuts. Some of them were to the most, wealthy, basically, but there are other
which they've since
parts of
ditched.
it, which they've since ditched. But the initial announcement, the thing that I can't get my head around is the correlation between confidence in the economy just completely collapsing.
But that's what happens when you introduce
tax cuts.
An insane neoliberal, libertarian agenda. Like, the whole thing about conservatives, this is what they allege, is that they're steady hands on the markets. They're stewards of the economy, austerity, needing to balance the budget. This is what the Tory party has argued for decades, right? And by announcing a bunch of new spending that's completely debt-funded.
Because they were unfunded tax cuts, weren't they?
Unfunded tax cuts. So they're going to borrow money to then give away to people. Which is very similar to what we were discussing last week with Labor's stage 3 tax cuts that they're wanting to keep. Well, they're not wanting to, but this kind of in the position where they're forced to sort of keep them on, at least in the short term. But yeah, it's basically signaling to the market these people have no fucking clue what they're doing and how to manage the economy. There's a bunch of new money going out on a bunch of ideological pet projects. They're going to cut a bunch of money. Out of they're going to increase their deficit, right, by announcing all of this new spending, and there's no new way to fund it. Like, it is a textbook example of how to crash an economy. How to crash an economy in 10 days, starring Kate Hudson.
Well, George, I don't know if you've seen this floating around, but I think this is the most brilliant way for the British media to be representing maybe just what little faith they have in Liz Truss and her future. Have you seen the British tabloid, the Daily Star? I thought it was the Daily Mail for a second, but the Daily Star are running a live stream of a photo of Liz Truss and a lettuce. And they are wondering, can Liz Truss outlast the lettuce? What will happen? Will the lettuce rot, or will Liz Truss be ousted?
Yeah, wow.
I think that is very funny.
Yeah, apparently there's a bunch of Conservative MPs talking about let's get Rishi Sunak in, the guy who just lost just now in the Conservative Party leadership stand-up. I mean, everything that he said This was his argument. It's like, hey, you need a steady hand, someone who's been Chancellor of the Exchequer, someone who understands the economy. Like, he was warning against all of these exact things happening. He loses, and then she institutes her psychotic libertarian agenda, and then all of those things happen. And so I guess he seems like a natural person to sort of turn to. But the other theory is that Boris Johnson was sort of like, I don't know, if this is like people assuming that Boris Johnson is playing more 12D chess than he's actually capable of, but was actually sort of behind the scenes supporting Liz Truss, knowing that she'd be a gigantic fuck up and that he'd be able to take the reins back again from her before the next.
Just do like a Winston Churchill and just like come around and have another.
Just come around again. Yeah. So yeah. I just don't see, like, currently Keir Starmer's looking like a golden god, the leader of the Labor Party. Like, he's just looking like an Adonis compared to these people. But yeah, Labor's leading them by 30 points in the polls. Like, it's like 50-20 or something at the moment. Like, it seems very clear that Labor is not going to lose the next election. The question is, will Liz Truss be the one losing it on behalf of the Tories, or will it be someone else losing it on their behalf? That's the question at this point, I feel like. But
maybe a lettuce.
It could be a lettuce. I think a certain
portion. They could just chuck a lettuce up in the race.
A certain portion of the Tory leadership would be happier with a lettuce than with Liz Truss at this stage. So
the thing was, UK,
I think they put some googly eyes on the lettuce, so it'll look good in front of the cameras.
Certainly less wooden than Liz.
I don't know how long is the lettuce refrigerated, or is it out in the bench?
No, it is on a bench next to a photograph.
It's a week. But the thing is, like, even if you change Prime Minister, it doesn't change the situation. They've now decided to not do all of these tax cuts, so they've basically walked back everything is it everything or just most of the
confidence restored? No, there's other things like capping energy prices and stuff, which they're still doing at enormous expense, which many have argued is not the not even actually the best way of handling that situation, because it introduces a moral hazard and makes people consume more knowing that their prices are going to be capped, which actually constrains supply further. There's other things you could be doing, like offsetting costs for, the lowest income earners or things like that would actually probably be more effective from a policy standpoint. But that's assuming that these morons engage with policy on that level rather than just... But like, it presupposes that they have any idea what they're doing, which they obviously don't. Like, they're just on an ideological war path.
Well, it also sounds like there's still, even though they've had the leadership ballot, that there's, and the same thing happened here a couple of years ago in Australia, where there's just factionalism within the Tory party, where they're all ripping each other to shreds.
Yeah, it's a Mobius strip of backstabbing. Like,
and not to get on to the fall of the Roman Empire again, but like that's one of the reasons why the fall of the Roman Empire fell.
It's got Julius Caesar vibes for sure.
But the thing with the UK economy is, like, they don't, like, in Australia, in the US, there are things that we make, we produce, we export shit out of the ground.
Well, we dig stuff out of the ground. We don't really make stuff. We just kind of dig it up and send it places.
You know what I mean? We dig it up and we grow some food and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know what the UK does. Like, what does their gross domestic product actually consist of? Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, apparently they're a massive financial center for Europe. Like New York is a financial center for the sort of North American area. London has traditionally been the financial hub for Europe. And a lot of corrupt Russian oligarch money seems to flow through there.
My favorite kind of money.
It's certainly not an economy that's in like a massive growth trajectory. I don't know what their industries are exactly. I mean, I'm sure they've got some, but it's an economy.
I just don't know how do they dig themselves out of it, is my point. Like, what do you actually do to transform the economy? Liz Truss promised a lot of things. She's like, we're going to change she was promising, like, she was going to basically making statements about fucking apples from certain parts of the country and all this kind of stuff, which is like, it's nice, warm, fuzzy thoughts, but like in practice, how do you actually do that? How do you mobilize an economy which is now technically disconnected from the EU to a certain extent? How do you mobilize an economy to actually do all that, but at the same time, potentially protecting migration when it's like you probably need more
Pork
workers
market.
to help.
More
Pork markets is the answer.
markets.
I just don't see how Britain sort of starts to grow.
Well, I mean, this is something that the guys on The Rest is Politics talk about. I've sent you guys their podcast recently. Who Alistair Campbell and Rory Stewart, who are former Labor and Tory heavyweights in years past, respectively. They're basically saying, on that show, like, if you're talking about growth, and the new term from Liz Truss is like the enemies of growth, right? Anyone who's not on board with their radical conservative agenda is like trying to kill the anti-growth coalition. But it's like, okay, but what are your ideas for actually like creating growth? Because, your industries are agriculture, construction, manufacturing. There's some mining. And a lot of it is services. Like, it's a pretty developed economy in that regard. They're not doing a lot of digging stuff up and sending it out or like high-end manufacturing or something like Taiwan. Like, it's a lot of it is business and financial services and tourism, hotels and restaurants. Like, it is a consumer economy at this stage, right? So the only way to increase your GDP, increase your growth, is to get productivity gains, is to invest in education, it requires investment 20 years ago for all of these things to actually make an impact. And they're not only are they not doing that, they're actually like ripping money out of the economy in strategic places for areas that don't meet their ideological preferences, and then dumping it and giving it to people who don't need it in order to like, if we just lower taxes, that'll spur growth. Trust us. Yeah.
Trickles down my leg. Trickle down economics. I'm done now with trickling down jokes. Thank you very much. See you later. I'm going to go get in my boat.
On that note, we are. Shut up, Tom. We are. We always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and motherfucking TikTok. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at George Tsipos.
You can follow me on Twitter at Tom D. Heath.
You can follow me on Instagram at AC Doreen.
And you can follow us all down to Adam's boat, which will be boarding Noah style when the collapse inevitably comes.
It'll probably be like a little 4-foot dinghy. So, I mean, limited space on the arc, to be fair. But, you guys could hang on to the sides if you want.
Sounds like
row you out.
Awesome. Okay. I love the water.
What do I need to give you? Billionaire retiring to New Zealand style in order to secure my place on the ark. What do you need?
Some chocolate. I'll take some of that.
Done.
Yep.
Well, I look forward to surviving the apocalypse. Thanks for listening, guys. I love your faces. We will see you next week.
I'd also take one UK economy, but fixed.
Well, you didn't say that. So.